everybody.
Hey, guys. Well, from gorgeous Salt Lake City, Utah,
It's Thank God I'm Atheist.
the podcast.
I'm Frank Feldman.
And I'm Dan Beecher.
And coming up today, Dan, we have got a poll that we're going to be talking about. This is like our big discussion about
It's
the deepest poll ever looking at like atheists in America.
Yeah, it turns out that nobody is studying us at all. Like, all of the demographers, all of the sociologists in the world, they're looking at religion. They're not looking at us.
Yeah.
So the American Atheists took it upon themselves and did a huge study.
Yeah.
It was huge.
Yeah. So we've got
there you
that
go.
to talk about.
We've got data on us, people.
Woo! And we're going to break it down.
At least the us that are in these United States of America.
Yeah.
The rest of y'all people can just do your own study.
Not know yourselves.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, Dan,
Well,
first I need to talk about something.
okay.
Okay.
What do you got?
There is a GOP, that's a Republican.
Yes.
Ohio State representative by the name of Nino Vitale, or I was trying to figure out how you say Vitale. Vitale. There we go. If not the correct way. But
Right.
anyway, he is against wearing face masks. Surprise. He's a COVID denier.
Mm-hmm.
And
Wait,
which
he actually denies the existence of the virus?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow.
I think he's one of those. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is the guy. Anyway, he said that the stay-at-home orders during the pandemic and the requiring of wearing masks to slow the spread of disease would violate his Judeo-Christian principles. Okay.
Something tells me he leans heavily on one or the other of the Judeo/Christian. I bet I can tell you which one, too.
I don't. To be honest, with this one, I don't know which one he's leaning on because it doesn't make very much sense. He says, this is the greatest nation on earth, founded on Judeo-Christian principles. One of those principles is that we are all created in the image and likeness of God. He says okay, and that's
in the Constitution, right?
It is, and he says this image is seen the most by our face. I will not wear a mask. Okay. Because he's covering the likeness of God.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
He's encouraged his followers to defy the recommendations of Ohio's health director, Amy Acton. He says it is time to ignore the unelected Dr. Acton's orders. Open your counties now before it's too late. This is not based on logic. This is based on fear and propaganda, and every statistical data-driven study done in the last 2 weeks says death counts are low, and the models are wrong. This is more like the flu. Yeah, that's what the models are saying.
It's funny because I have been just puzzling over why a fucking virus could be a political football. Like, how does a disease wear a Republican or Democrat mask? Like, how is that possible? And I read a really interesting article that actually helped me understand it a lot.
Okay.
Which basically talked about the fact that if we say, yes, government should have the right to and should be taking dramatic action here, and they're the right people to collate the data and make not only recommendations but orders based on the best information that we have, then you're admitting that the government has a certain set of roles, and part of that is public health. And somehow that's so unbearable to the political right of this country that they would rather just deny everything and turn it into this political thing. You're
weird.
killing your own people.
Yeah.
You're only these are your voters. If you want them dead, I guess that's. Oh,
I know.
It's madness.
If it legitimately truly was just their voters, like if it wasn't going to spread beyond that, like if it was just you're stupid and following them, you're die.
Right.
I'd be like, I mean, let them. But it's everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
It's all the vulnerable. It's the people who are taking this seriously, and it is also the left. Right? If nothing else, right? It's like everybody else is like, no, that's ridiculous. And it seems like, at least in parts of the country, they're getting their way. But then it's going to be a fucking disaster. And then what happens? Does the system then see the light of day and go, no, okay, we can't listen to you yahoos. Right?
No. The world has turned into like, it's not Democrat and Republican anymore. It's conspiracy theorists / like cult Trump cult members, and the rest of us.
Well, I think we outnumber them, right? Enough.
Maybe. We'll see. We have till November to figure that one out. Anyway, that's great. You gotta love. The real fun part of the quote you did was the unelected doctor. Yeah, because what I want is an elected official making scientific decisions. What we've learned is that politicians really understand the science and care a lot about just the science and keeping people healthy. That's what we've learned. All right, I'm gonna talk to you a little bit about a. Look, here's the thing. The Catholic Church is looking at maybe reopening, even in Italy where things got real bad.
Really?
And they're figuring out like what should we do, because like you can't look, even when things reopen, and everybody get this through your head, you don't go back to normal. There's still a pandemic on.
Yeah.
We're still having a pandemic. So when things reopen, that's not like everything's the same as it was before. It's a very different world we're going to live in. And one of the considerations that the Catholics have to talk about is, how do we do communion? Because I don't know if you know this, it's not healthy. The way that they do it, like everybody, one dude touching everybody's mouth by putting a cracker in it, and everybody taking a sip out of the same cup. Probably not best practices when at all ever.
It's
but
always
definitely not when there's a coronavirus going around. So some people have suggested novel ways of administering it, including in the Italian newspaper La Stampa. Some churches are apparently considering basically doing a little baggie with, a communion wafer, and I didn't see anything about wine, but presumably some wine that you can it's already been blessed. You just take it as needed. Take 2 of these and call me in the morning, sort of thing.
Right.
Well,
that's funny.
Not everybody in the church is good with this. One Cardinal Robert Serra. Now, you may keen-eared listeners may remember Cardinal Serra, because a few months ago, we did a story about how Pope Benedict had pulled out of listing his name as co-author on a book that was basically like it was mostly, I mean, the big controversial thing that it was insisting that priests still needed to be celibate, even though everybody knows that's the worst idea in the world. Well, that was Robert Serra's book. So Robert Serra is a very uptight dude who is not having this whole idea about communion not being handed to you by, because they're talking about just putting a little baggie. You know what I mean? You put a little baggie of communion, and then you just take that.
Can't the priest hand you the baggie? I would assume he does, right?
No, well, they were going to put it into little cubbies so that you don't have to get close to the priest.
Oh,
or
I missed
whatever.
that detail. Oh, okay.
And that's a good thing. These are good ideas.
Yeah.
No, not according to Cardinal Sarah, who is outraged because that is Jesus. You can't put him into a bag. He literally said,
Shut up.
quote, "It's absolutely not possible. God deserves respect. You can't put him in a bag."
Oh my God. They put him on a cross. You can put him in a bag, right?
It's not Jesus yet.
Yeah, that's true.
He becomes Jesus. I'm not sure when he becomes Jesus. At conception,
when does he transubstantiate?
Yeah. At what moment in the process? Is it when he's blessed? Is it when does it become Jesus?
Well, the priest does say body of Christ, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
this whole concept of transubstantiation was a bad idea that they should not have latched onto.
Still believe that, do they?
They definitely, Cardinal Sarah 100% believes that, and I think it is still canon law.
But I thought transubstantiation was like the belief that there's nothing symbolic about it. Like it literally turns into Jesus's flesh, right?
Correct. That's right.
Well, that can't be true.
I mean, maybe. You don't know. How do you know if it's true or not? Anyway, Cardinal Sarah's pretty sure it's true, and he is not happy. This is the same guy, by the way, who rejected the idea of gluten-free communion bread because apparently Jesus has gluten, and that's final.
Jesus cannot turn into Jesus. The bread cannot be turned into Jesus without gluten.
Right.
That's interesting.
You're just stopping the magic.
That actually makes a
happening.
lot of sense. If you really think it through, right?
What is Jesus going to be made of? Some sort of rice bread? Shut your fucking mouth.
Way. No.
How dare you?
Yeah.
How dare you?
Oh, my God. Well, Dan.
Yeah.
I have a follow-up to a story that I believe I brought up last week about the Minneapolis mosque that is broadcasting, I guess that's kind of the word that they're using, through speakers on the mosque, right?
They're hollering at everybody.
The call to prayer, right?
Yeah.
During the month of Ramadan. And this was presented by the imam from the mosque to the mayor of Minneapolis as sort of hey, let's keep everybody at home, and let's if we could do this, it's going to be easier on our community, and then people aren't going to be trying to get together and collectively pray, right? This is the idea, right?
So they get a big loudspeaker and somebody yodels into it every 5 times a day.
Yeah.
Including very early in the morning, as I recall. And that was very worrying to me.
Yeah, one of the complaints says 4:45 a.m. is the first call to prayer.
No deity is worth that kind of bullshit.
No, I mean, the Muslims are a little nuts about this, or on this issue, right? They, this is pure lunacy, but they've been doing it for a long time. Yeah, they want to keep doing it.
Yeah, sure.
This getting up and praying thing. The whole call to prayer thing, it's traditionally not really a thing that's generally allowed in the United States, right? There are a couple neighborhoods, I think Dearborn, Michigan, and a couple other places that are just really highly concentrated,
Muslim communities.
Yeah, thing going on there, where it's been allowed. And I don't know all the rules. I don't know. Maybe it's not amplified, or maybe I don't know the rules. Maybe there's been some compromise.
I feel like just get a goddamn app. Everybody's got an app. You can just have an app that just
broadcasts it in your house.
Just sings it to your pocket.
Yeah. Well, anyway, last week you did sort of ask, well, how is the community responding? And I'm like, I don't know. The article's not really about that.
Right.
Well, we had the response.
Good.
The Freedom from Religion Foundation has gotten involved thanks to one of their members who complained and contacted them. Let's see. They are... Yeah, they're super against this. They said, this is from the imam, who says that he's arguing that the congregation needs to be discouraged from gathering at the mosque. He says, however, locking the mosque door. This is part of the complaint. It says, locking the mosque door, putting a sign on the door, and distributing flyers in the neighborhood could accomplish the same secular goal of urging people to stay home during this coronavirus.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. All you have
I guess
to do
if you
is
don't
say,
give them a place, that's probably true.
Closed.
Right?
Closed. We're done.
They cite the Minneapolis noise control ordinance that prohibits the use of amplified sound. They say that this ordinance allows for the issuance of permits for outdoor sound amplifying equipment for small, standard size, or large block party events. This call to prayer is not a solitary temporary event, as contemplated by the exemption to the use of amplified sound codified in the ordinance. This is a 5 times daily call that will go on for weeks.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, I guess.
There
are other things where, like, noise ordinances, though, are often waived. I mean, the construction of a new building.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, cities will allow for trucks to be rolling through at horrible hours of the night in order to get certain work done when there's no traffic. Like living in a city, it's not always like perfect and pristine. And I think the overall stated goals of this are decent, especially considering certain, I don't know, like, I get it. Nobody wants to be next to this and happening. I mean, I would be upset if there was a mosque down the street. I guess I would be upset about that.
And they're waking you up at 5 a.m, and you know, and we've all got a pandemic on. Nobody has to wake up before 10 anymore.
Yeah, but also
9.
like, I don't know. We got a pandemic going on, and my sleep patterns are all weird anyway. So I'm up at
there's that
5 a.m. half the time anyway. So
yeah, I just think I'm of two minds. Is it worth ruffling these feathers for, you know, somebody hollering?
Well, I mean, the mosque should probably want to be a good neighbor, right?
Yeah,
but they want they want to be able to do this thing that's sort of special to them. But they're also not asking for it for the whole year. Right.
Yeah.
Which traditionally this would just be every morning, right, and every night. If you lived in a Muslim place, right, it's not just the month of Ramadan that this happens.
No, yeah, that's the whole.
It's all the time.
It's all the time in the Muslim countries. I think. I don't know. I mean, I've never been to a predominantly Muslim country.
As you pointed out, it's literally, you know, in every, like, you know, shot in the Middle East in a film, right?
Yeah.
There's always the call to prayer.
It opens with that guy going, hello. Yeah. There you go. Who knows? I will watch how that plays out. Noise ordinances are sort of, it feels like that's the least of the FFRF's worries. It feels like that's maybe not something that the FFRF needs to be getting involved in, but that's just me.
Well, they say that there's sort of an establishment clause violation and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, there is. There may be. Like, the Congress shall make no law that infringes somebody's sleep because of somebody else's religion.
I mean, anyway, it's not a bad rule of thumb, if nothing else.
It's true. It's true. Let us sleep. Jesus Christ. I'm going to take us to Russia. Where there are fewer arguments over what religion's allowed to do, because the religion is basically a segment of the government at this point. That religion that I'm talking about is, of course, the Russian Orthodox Church.
They're breaking down walls. Right?
They're what?
They're breaking down walls and cutting through red tape. They're just getting shit done.
Yeah, exactly. Paying each other under the table, all of the good stuff. Patriarch Kirill, who is the head of Russian Orthodoxy, has been, let's just say, dragging his feet on the whole coronavirus thing. Uh-huh. He did a piss poor job, really, figuring out what to do, when to do it, he waffled back and forth a lot. And the problem with him waffling is that it's a very hierarchical setup within the Russian Orthodox Church.
Right.
Everybody below is like, it's kind of like Mormonism. The guy at the top, if he says it, that's it. And then everybody below looks to him for their cues. You cannot go against the people above you. It's just not allowed. He did make some effort to try and stop the spread of COVID. His big move was to drive around the city of Moscow in a black Mercedes van, blessing the Russian capital while he did it. So he surrounded the entire capital with prayer. I don't know what more you want, Russia, than that.
Yeah.
But
to be fair, it's all he can do, right?
Well, not true. He could have closed churches. He could have made all of the, all the priests and whatever obey, practice best practices. He did not do that.
Like, you mean actually use his real powers instead of his fake powers?
Right.
Is that what you're saying?
Don't do the magic trick. I mean, do the magic trick if you want to. That's fine. But also do the thing that would actually have an effect. No, didn't do that. And now, apparently, churches and monasteries and, that kind of thing all over the country are just infected as a motherfucker. Priests,
Christ.
Nuns are getting it left and right, and it's the clergy that's really, really getting hit hard. And of course, clergy love to interact with their parishioners.
Yeah.
So,
oh boy,
literally, according to New York Times, scores of priests and nuns fell ill after testing positive.
Oh God.
So, of course, you've got so what you had was some priests who were like, "Hey, can we do something about this? Can we close the churches?" And they weren't getting any response really, and they have to wait for a response before they can do a thing. And then you've got others.
I mean, closing a church is kind of not doing a thing, right? Like you're not doing
just
anything.
Just fail to open it.
Yeah,
you're not doing anything. Just fail to open a church. Anyway, some priests like Andrei Lemeshonok have decidedly fallen on the other side of this. He said, quote, "The scariest thing is when people want." He's saying this as opposed to worrying about a silly old virus. He said the scariest thing is when people want to change their gender or don't have children or otherwise ignore traditional values. You know how terrifying it is when somebody doesn't have a kid? Much worse than a virus. He must be so scared of us. You're like gay and I'm childless, and it's just, we're terrifying. We're the boogeyman.
Yeah.
So there you go.
It's nice to know that we're scary.
I feel like our whole show is just about how dumb religious people are when it comes to a virus. Is that what our show is now? Is our show just look at how dumb they are?
I mean,
I guess it is.
Let me
It's
tell you
always
the
been
story,
that, but-
and you decide.
Okay. I got another one too. It'll be fine. We'll
Let's
just keep going.
withhold judgment until like all the facts are in, Dan. Well,
Okay,
my
fine.
next story is about a televangelist. Oh shit, Scott Lively. Isn't that what he is? Is he a televangelist? He feels like a
Scott Lively.
televangelist. He's a Trump-loving former GOP gubernatorial candidate in the state of, I don't know, Massachusetts maybe. And basically he's been telling Christians that they need to build an underground railroad. Right?
Okay.
To prepare and prepare to wage a violent revolution in response to what he foresees as the impending persecution of Christ followers.
Of course he does.
Let's see.
Oh my God! Can I just say how many times? Can I just say how many times I've been seeing lately the most privileged white people in the world comparing them having to wear a mask or whatever to the fucking civil rights movement or anti-slavery or whatever. So no, I'm not surprised at all that he would invoke the Underground Railroad, which for our non-American listeners and maybe our less lettered American listeners, it is to do with like that was a series of
from the South,
right? A series of homes or places that you could go hide as an escaped slave, so that you could get away from the slavery in the South of the United States back in slave times.
Yeah. And so anyway, so he says he's warning his supporters that that they need to do these things like the Underground Railroad and wage violent revolution against those who are seeking to use COVID-19 to impose a socialist end times, an emerging beast government. Right, is what the socialists are trying to impose on the United States.
And when they say beast, they're referring to something to do with the Book of Revelation. One assumes.
I'm sure. He says we need to be establishing a network of believers everywhere that can operate in an underground fashion. Because if this thing continues in the trend that it seems to be, we may be evolving here at a revolutionary speed and entering into an emerging beast government. And he continues, we're going to need to have something like an underground railroad in which believers who are fleeing persecution are going to be able to have some way of escape. If these people truly are intending to destroy America so that they can bring in their global socialist system or even a national socialist system, then violence is appropriate in response to the most measured possible way. Violence.
Okay. Good. At least he said it should be measured violence.
That's the idea. If at all possible, you disarm the zombies trying to kill you without hurting them. But if it's not possible...
He invoked zombies!
Yeah, if it's not possible, you do whatever is necessary to stop them from killing you and your family and putting you into slavery. That, I believe, is the duty of an American.
I feel like he is very confused about what he's talking about.
Oh,
why would you say that? He lost the plot in the middle there and went to zombie apocalypse and then kind of had to circle back to... This is Christian persecution.
First of all, why would you ever try to disarm a zombie? It's just not. There's something wrong here. You don't disarm a zombie.
Why is the zombie armed?
Yeah, I mean to disarm, you gotta. Yeah, they just attack you.
Yeah,
they just eat you and tear you to shreds.
They don't really
disarm
go for
a zombie. He's never seen a zombie movie. He didn't watch The Walking Dead.
He is a very confused man. Can someone help him? Someone needs to call somebody because that dude is not okay. Someone needs to help that man. Wow. All right, Underground Railroad. I know for a fact that there are a whole bunch of Christian households that are like, it's coming. How do we help? We're in, maybe one of us should pretend like we're an atheist just so that when the Christians need help, we can get word that ours is a safe place.
No, they can never pretend. No, that would be denying the Christ.
I know, but
you always have to be true to your... No, you can't.
It's impossible! We're never going to save the Christians!
The problem is that we have to kind of... I mean, it's really fucking sick because, like, we kind of have to tread lightly with these ding-dongs because they're dangerous and you push them a little too hard and it's not going to be just, some weird little Waco thing over here. It's going to be like it's going to be all over the fucking place. These guys are
they already think it's going to be
armed. They're armed. How did we let that happen?
They're armed to the teeth.
Like all over the fucking place. They've got so many guns. And then they were showing them off at like the state capitol in, what was that, Michigan?
Michigan,
right?
yeah. Storming the Capitol.
with their guns. Like, what is that? That's no. That is not allowed.
And they all just walked away safely, proving once again that they were Caucasian.
Well, yeah, but also like, also testing the limits, and apparently there aren't many, right?
Yeah,
like they can just walk into the halls of government with their guns. Well, how easy would it be for them to actually, like, you know, stage
assassinate
something? Yeah,
people. Yeah, exactly. Ugh. It's unnerving. It's unnerving. All of you people who are looking down on Americans from other countries, yeah, I get it.
You're correct.
Okay. I'm sorry. Yes,
so.
You're right. I want you to be wrong.
Yeah,
but you're kind of not. Okay. Except I held out one story that is a glimmer. Just the tiniest little glint of gold in the giant shit pile that is our country right now.
Oh,
in California, as you're aware, Governor Gavin Newsom just banned people from going to church for a while. He said he banned all get-togethers,
right?
Of any kind of large
group.
Church.
It was about gatherings.
Right, exactly.
And it included churches. Yeah,
concerts.
Yeah,
anything where people get together in mass numbers. No, you're done for a bit. Well, a bunch of churches defied his orders. Then they got in trouble. Police came. There was a whole thing. One church decided that they were going to defy the order. They were going to meet no matter what that dastardly governor says, and then the police came in and they got in trouble, and there was a whole thing. And the thing is that they sued. They decided that they were going to sue, and they sued the governor, and they sued the Lodi County Police or the state or the city police or whatever, and a judge has ruled on their complaint and has said, no, guess what? The governor 100% has a duty, not just the right, to have a public health order, and it does not violate your religious freedom, you ding-dongs. I'm pretty sure that's a direct quote.
Yeah. Okay. Well, good.
Yeah. So there you go.
Smart judge.
At least one judge. Now, if this gets all the way to the Supreme Court, which it may, you never know, who knows what they say then? Because obviously our Supreme Court and many of our higher courts have been for the last 3 years and decidedly stacked against any kind of, just in favor of Christianity. It's basically that is the only qualification you need to be a federal judge now is you love Christianity more than you love anybody else. The end.
Oh, that doesn't bode well for us.
So we'll see. We'll see. But at very least one judge has said, no, there was no constitutional violation. So there you go. If you folks have anything you want to say, listener at home, about any of these stories, please feel free to write into us, podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or you could call and leave us a voicemail message. The telephone number is 424-666-8442.
Indeed. Hey, go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/TGIAtheist, and click on that like button.
And while you're there, search for the TGIA Members Only Lounge and request to join. It is a closed group, but we will let you in. Also find us on Twitter @TGIAtheist. Stick around.
Hooray!
Oh, stick around. Hey, Dan.
Hey.
We're going to play a clip now from one of, I think one of the more vile people that we ever play clips of.
Yeah, but only because he's super awful as a human being. Only because he's anti-Semitic, like openly, wildly anti-Semitic.
Right.
He's super homophobic.
Yeah.
It's only because of those things.
Yeah, I mean, otherwise,
I'm sure he's a peach.
Oh, he seems awesome, which I don't believe at all.
No.
Because I honestly, I think he would be an utter nightmare to know in real life.
If you have this guy as your grandpa, go get coronavirus on purpose and then cough on him.
Indeed. All right. Well, in this little clip, he's got he's got a lot of different little hypotheticals, I guess, about
he's just running some scenarios.
The pandemic. Yeah.
He's got some what ifs.
Yeah. All right.
Let's hear it.
What if they made us believe Wuhan had massive death, that the entire city had to be fumigated? What if it was all a propaganda campaign to introduce a virus in America to bring down the U.S. economy? Look, it's also possible the entire Wuhan pandemic was staged. For what purpose? To destroy the American economy. And I'm not saying that it's that there's no virus here. I believe that absolutely there's a virus here. 55,000 people are dead. But what I'm saying is maybe it never happened in Wuhan. Maybe the entire thing has been a calculated, well-planned, well-choreographed, well-executed attack on the USA, because nothing has ever shut us down like this. And as you said, Edward, first time in the history of America that churches have been closed from coast to coast.
Well, how do you argue with that?
Well, he can't, because he's not stating any kind of fact.
Well,
I mean, if that's how you communicate, and if everything is just a little what if, how fucking irresponsible, right?
Yeah, exactly.
This is like I'm so fucking tired. I mean, it's one thing to kind of talk and not have all the information, but you're close and whatever, right? I mean, that's one thing.
Right.
We do that here, right? Let's face it.
What? Are you claiming that we're uninformed sometimes?
No, I'm not saying that we're uninformed. I'm just saying that sometimes we kind of miss some details and whatnot, and that's forgivable and whatnot. At least I think so. But this is just literally from whole cloth.
Yeah,
just making shit up. Just it's not. Oh yeah, I actually found this thing that says this, and it's from, and I believe the source. It's a reputable source. Blah 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 blah. Right? That would already be something.
Are you talking about journalistic standards? Because you, sir, are in the wrong era. This is the era of the internet.
That's just being honest and decent about how you communicate as somebody who's got a microphone, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, it's the wrong era for that, too. It's just, you just say whatever crazy shit jumps into your mind and no responsibility. And then everybody else's job is to just believe whatever crazy shit they hear on some show or on the YouTubes. And then they know for a fact that lizard people started this whole thing.
I've got one. What if Rick Wiles is actually a Satanist, right? And he's
trying to trick Christians. It all checks out, actually.
What if, right?
What if that's the truth?
What if that's the truth?
What if he's just trying to trick Christians and separate them from their money?
Yeah,
and trick them into believing in a conspiracy theory.
What if Rick Wiles was actually born in the Soviet Union and is a deep plant, like one of those deep planted spy things, right?
Yeah.
Like I saw the Americans, that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like what if he's that guy? What if
his real name is Alexander Simonovich?
That's all you have to do. It's just, what if?
What if?
It seems plausible. Why not?
Yeah. What if he
him.
and Donald Trump got together and hatched a plan to get everybody sick.
After having sex.
After having
with each other.
Copious amounts of gay sex.
Yeah. What if?
What if? What if they're baby murderers? I know that it's possible.
It does seem possible. I mean, we've heard. I mean, they talk about it all the time, right?
Yeah,
those
they're
crazy
the ones obsessed with murdering babies.
Yeah.
Why are they so obsessed with it?
Because they do it all the time.
What if it's because they murder babies? Not just abortion.
What if?
What if? All right. Well, what if I read some emails? What if that? Because we definitely had some people writing into us, including one Craig, who, now you'll recall, Frank, that we talked a little bit last week. Somebody wrote into us. We talked about the possibility, the fact that the only way to have any influence on the Utah State gubernatorial race is to be a registered Republican.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Or at very least the only way to cast a vote that means anything.
Right.
Because the governor, the next governor of Utah will 100% be whoever the Republican candidate is.
Right. So let's help the least crazy one be the candidate.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
So, but in the state of Utah, the only way to vote in the Republican primary is to be a registered Republican. So anyway, I admitted that I have now registered as a Republican, which every time I say it feels like I've stabbed my own butt. But Craig wrote into us to say, I have also registered as a Republican. I was keen on voting for Cox, who is our current
lieutenant governor.
Mm-hmm. He said, but in light of recent events, I'm less inclined. Who are you going to vote for? Well, Craig, I'm not going to tell you who I'm going to vote for, in part because I haven't made that decision yet. I have until June. But, yeah, here's the thing, though. Conceptually, I want to talk more conceptually. Cox was nice for a minute just because he seemed like a reasonable, actual human. What I'm going to be voting for is anyone who seems like they might actually take real ideas and science into account when making decisions. Even if that decision is going to be sort of not what I would do, if I can sense that they are actually looking at the situation with reasonably clear eyes and trying genuinely to make a decent call, that's as good as I can hope for. So that's what I'm looking for in a governor.
So Huntsman.
So
you're voting for Huntsman.
Yeah, I'm probably going to vote for John Huntsman.
Who, when he was governor before...
Yeah.
Well,
he was previous governor.
I didn't pay an ounce of attention to him. He was the Republican, right? I was right. And it was 2004 or something like that.
And he comes from a wealthy big family,
Mormon,
so it's just
and I was just no, he's just going to be, he'll be another Mike Leavitt, right?
Right.
And then he got into office, and I was like, excuse me, who is this guy? Right? Because he was reasonable and he was getting decent things done for the state that weren't crackpot and crazy. And I was just like, okay. I voted for him when he ran for re-election. And then I felt a great deep betrayal and held a bad feelings toward him when he stepped down to, work in the Obama administration.
When Obama stole him from us and ruined our state a little bit. That was really frustrating.
Yeah, I was really, really, really angry at him. And you know what? I can forgive him because if he's coming back, he had this astronomical approval rating, right?
Yeah.
When he was governor. Yeah. I know.
These are different times, though. He's said some nice things about Trump that have really been scary, and I don't know.
I think that's just the politics of the day. Is you have to say something nice about Trump, and then you go about and you do your business, right?
Yeah, we'll see.
As a John Huntsman type, right?
And he actually has a serious he's probably going to win. So it's not like I'm voting for the guy that has no shot at all.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? It's just crazy. But yeah, what I'm looking for isn't even someone who will agree with me or make decisions that I think are the right decisions. Right. Just don't take orders from the church. If you can even get that far, I would be very impressed. Yeah. Anyway.
Well, and then there's that really cool video of him riding the motorcycle. Do you remember that? His campaign.
My God. No, I don't remember
his
that.
Presidential,
but that's amazing.
one of the videos they produced for his presidential campaign. It was great. He was on a big Harley rid through some canyon and whatnot. I was just oh, that's interesting.
He actually would have been a good Republican candidate to go up against. Yeah, I mean, anyway, hey, most people who listening don't care about our local politics, so I'm going to move on. You'll recall, Franklin, that we talked about last week what religion we would go to if we had to, and you mentioned that you might be interested in secular Judaism. As your
becoming
as
a
your
secular
go-to
Jew.
place.
Yes,
sure. So we had a few people write into us about that. Garrett wrote in to say, "Hey, my wife is Jewish, and I'm atheist. In order to be married by a rabbi, I had to go to a class and to learn about Judaism. My wife went also. We became friends with the rabbi because she was roughly our age and lived in our neighborhood. At the end of class, the rabbi tried to convince me to convert. I told her I was atheist, but she said it didn't really matter. She said, as long as you're willing to do the practices of Judaism, you can be Jewish. You didn't really need to believe in God. Don't know if that's a standard belief or if it was just her interpretation, but I thought it related to the discussion of the last podcast."
That's funny.
And then, for more on that, and then we can get to our discussion. We did hear from Rabbi Gruber.
Oh, good.
Who did weigh in on both that and also weighed in. Now, we talked also last week about Mayor de Blasio of New York calling out a bunch of there was a big Hasidic Jewish funeral.
Yeah.
For one of their rabbis, to which was heavily attended because they're insane, and de Blasio called them out in a tweet that said, "What I say to the Jewish and all communities is blah blah is basically just don't get together."
Right.
So, Rabbi Gruber had a few points. So the first point he wanted to say was, quote. Yes, it's a quote. I guess I didn't need to say the word quote. I'm reading his thing. "The problem with what de Blasio did was that he called out the Jewish community in its entirety for the actions of specific groups within a segment of the ultra-Orthodox community. Calling out all of us because of the actions of a small number of us is wrong. I don't think de Blasio is an anti-Semite. However, his statement was textbook anti-Semitic." Wait, so... Rabbi Gruber, you're saying that not all Jews are the same? Because, just kidding. No, obviously there are vast differences between different sects of Judaism. Yeah. Number two says, this is point number 2 from Rabbi Gruber. "My youngest's former allergy doctor was Zoroastrian."
Okay.
That was the other one that you wanted, Frank, was Zoroastrianism.
They're cool.
He told me that they don't take converts.
What?
Interestingly, the Druze don't either. So you're out there. He goes on, though. "Secular humanistic Judaism, SHJ, does not believe in conversion, i.e. jumping through all the hoops other Jewish denominations force you to.
Okay.
Instead, it believes in adoption, i.e. you decide to adopt Judaism as your religion, preferably after some period of contemplation and study. I do not perform conversions because though I am not part of the SHJ as a movement, I mostly hold to their teachings. I have joined another rabbi in converting 1 or 2 people as the third guy on the Beth Din, or religious court. I have helped one guy with above said adoption because even though both he and his bride were atheists, it was important to her grandparents that he be Jewish. I gave him a bunch of books to read, had him write a long essay, and had a couple of long discussions with him. Then I gave him a nice fancy certificate and a Hebrew name." So there you go. That's he says, "Since the Zoroastrians won't take Frank, I'd be happy to do the same for him if he insists. I mean, with his last name, it just makes sense. That is true. You've had people assume you were Jewish, haven't you? Because your name is Feldman.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like they're making the assumption, whatever that means.
And why not? And why not?
But no, like I'll get asked a couple different times. I've had somebody that I was just meeting who was Jewish ask me sort of where I was from and
just
then like
probing questions.
Do you know so and so Feldman? And I'd be like, oh no, now I know what you're asking. No, I didn't. I'm not Jewish.
The Mormon
I grew up
Feldmans.
Mormon. and then there's kind of like a oh. Well, how? And it's kind of like, how did you get that last name? And it's like, I have no idea. No
Germans.
Idea. That's all I know.
Give it to you.
That's all I know.
Right. Well, there you go. Thanks, Rabbi Gruber, for writing in. And Frank will let you know about his decision whether or not he's going to actually become Jewish soon.
Well, I would love some reading materials or suggestions, right? Why not?
I'm
learn
sure
a little
Rabbi
bit more
Gruber
about
will be happy to send you some reading material.
That would be cool.
Okay. There you go.
I don't know about full-on adoption or anything.
I'm so glad. Frank is finally on the path, everyone. He's going to be a Jew soon.
No.
We're so happy for him.
I mean,
Mazel tov, Frank.
I know,
Mazel tov.
I know. No, like, I like, even something like adoption doesn't quite feel right? Like,
no.
I'm not, I don't know that I'm maybe looking to join a community, but I'd love to just have some awesome reading suggestions, so...
Sure.
Yeah, of course.
Sure. Yeah, exactly. That's all we have to do
Even
these
if
days.
it's a little sort of inside, like that might actually be kind of fascinating,
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
So get to it. The reading, I'm sure Rabbi Gruber's reading list will be coming shortly.
I hope so.
Do we have some folks to thank this week?
Yeah, we do indeed. We have 3 new supporters of the show on Patreon.
Okay.
We have they're all coming in at the deacon level, right? Like we're doing this Mormon thing now with our levels, and so this is the first level of the Aaronic priesthood, right? Mm-hmm. Which 12-year-olds get, and so congratulations, everyone who's getting it today. So we have
it's a very special day when you get ordained to the Aaronic priesthood.
So we have Chris, Ryan, and Thick James.
Oh, thanks, guys.
To thank. So thank you so much, guys. And if you'd like to join them as becoming a member of the Thank God I'm Atheist Patreon community, you can go to our website, thankgodimatheist.com, and clicking on the support tab, there's some links there. If Patreon's not your cup of tea, there's also a PayPal route that you can go.
You can make your name even thicker, James, and then you'll have that thick James beat.
Woo! And we have, as always, our top donor, our Lord and Savior, Davis!
Oh, Davis, we're going to stick you on the top of a temple and cover you in gold.
Stick around, guys. There's more. So, Dan.
Yeah.
There's been a big study on atheists.
Yes.
Big question.
It was sponsored by the organization American Atheists. Mm-hmm. It's called Reality Check: Being Non-Religious in America.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Boy, that's a name.
Sounds like a thing.
Yeah.
Sounds like a thing, doesn't it? It's a big one. They had. Now, mind you, this is an online study. It is self-selected. This is not sort of
perfectly scientific.
It's scientific.
Is it?
But it's self-selected in that, these are people who had access to the internet, who found out about it, who willingly participated in it.
I didn't know about it. How did I not know about it?
I did.
You did?
I actually participated.
Did you take
one
it?
Of the participants.
You're one of the 34,000?
One of the 33,897 participants.
And it could have been 98 if you just told me about it, Dan.
Well, I don't tell you everything, Frank.
Why do you keep secrets, Dan?
Anyway, almost 34,000 people participated in this, which
Awesome.
is no small shakes, kids. We had we've got actually quite a bit of data on this group of people, on non-religious people in these United States of America.
Right, because it's kind of the thing that, like, this whole nuns category that gets tossed around. We don't really know how that breaks down, right? Like, we have ideas about, okay, well, these people, a certain percentage might be atheists, really, but, like, I liked some of the... So it must have been presented to the person taking the survey as, click all of these identities that you identify with? Is that kind of the...
or do you identify
any
with
of the above?
with this identity very much? Do you identify with it somewhat?
Oh, okay.
Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Considering the numbers. Yeah, sure. Okay.
Right. And which one is your primary non-religious identity?
Yeah.
And so, we learned that atheist is not as scary a word as maybe we thought it was.
Yeah. Yeah, because if you look at it, there's almost 80%, right? 79.4% of the respondents said that they identify very much with the atheist identity. And then if you bring in the somewhats, the people who somewhat identify, it's that adds 15.4%. So that's like, what is that? 94.8%, just off the top of my head.
It's no small shakes, y'all.
I mean, that actually, if you combine those two categories, the very much and the somewhat, that's the number one identity, right? And then you have non-religious, which by the very much standard sort of just barely nudges out atheist,
right?
But only 10.3% somewhat identify, so the number comes in a little bit lower.
And I identify with both of those. Yeah. So, like, I would have said very much on both of those.
Yeah.
So, but like, there's another thing that asked what people's primary non-religious identity is.
Oh, okay.
So you only get to choose one, and almost 60% of respondents chose atheist, and that was by far the largest thing.
Yeah, that's great.
Then you had a little over 14% chose humanist, a little over 7% non-religious, agnostics all the way down. I mean, agnostic people, 6.9%. I would have thought that was much higher.
Well, the way the media likes to just be like atheists and agnostics, right? That it's almost like the same thing, or who cares what distinction there is. And you, like, I know a lot of people who self-identify as atheist, but I don't really know anybody who, like, goes throwing around the agnostic word. Not really.
I've met a few people who that's their primary identifier. I'm both. I am an agnostic, but I'm also an atheist.
Right.
I think that confuses some people.
You wouldn't use that as your non-religious identity, though, right? Did you click very much on that?
No.
Right,
not really.
Because there's the common understanding of the word that we're up against, and the common one is sort of this undecided sort of, I'm not really ready to commit to atheist, but I don't know. There could be something out there, but I don't think I can know, right?
Right. And so depending on how you define it, that's the other thing, is that these terms get a little squishy, and atheist scares a lot of people. And I think one of the things that we've learned from this is that it depends on who's asking. Because when it's American Atheists that's asking, people feel comfortable to say,
no, that's interesting.
Oh, yeah, I'm one of those too.
Yeah.
But when it's the Pew people or whatever, and also, how a question is worded is everything in polling. And plenty of polls skew one way or another just based on the wording. So, I think American Atheists is not going to skew anything to make people feel afraid of the word atheist.
Right, exactly. I did think that the question about concealment of the non-religious identity was interesting, right?
I think that's fascinating.
What settings people like, because it breaks down between like, are like, how sort of out are you as whatever your identity is, an atheist, whatever.
How often do you feel like you need to conceal your non-religious identity?
With people at school, strangers, people at work, extended family of origin, and then the last category they have is friends and acquaintances.
Right.
And that one's interesting too. Like how many people always conceal their identity at school? That's like a quarter of atheists, or of this total non-religious group.
Right.
And that's kind of the one that's the most
always.
Concealment. Yeah, always. Yeah. Whereas
if you
like
look at
almost
always and mostly
30% never at school, right?
Right.
Which is interesting as well.
That is interesting. Yeah, I mean, family of origin, you would think that a lot of people would actually like, because we hear all the time about people who are still not out of the closet to their family. But 31.4% of the respondents to this are never, they never conceal their non-religious identity from their family of origin.
Yeah.
And only 10% always do.
Right.
So that's interesting. Mm-hmm. And of course, it makes a lot of sense that the smallest category of people who always conceal their identity is with their friends and acquaintances.
Yeah, well, because you can be more honest and open with and you seek out like-minded people so much to be friends with.
Theoretically, although that's not the category that has the highest level of people who never conceal.
Yeah. But I mean, if you combine up the never and rarely, it is.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
indeed. It's like over 50%. So that never do with
so
their friends.
There you go.
Or rarely.
There's some very interesting findings here.
Yeah. What about the religious upbringings, though?
Right. There's another good one. Looking at where we all came from.
Yeah.
I would have thought, so, you got 14% that just started out in a non-religious household. So that's interesting.
Lucky.
Right? Super lucky. But mostly we're Protestant Christians. We American atheists. Coming out of at 54.7% of us came out of Protestant Christianity, and then another 30% came out of Catholicism. Yeah. So mostly, I mean, obviously it's going to line up pretty well with religious demographics in the U.S.
Yeah, that's not too surprising.
That's just sort of how that's going to work, because people are going to leave all of the religions in roughly the same amount as, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Oh, man, it is what's that?
No, I mean, you would think. I mean, I could see certain communities maybe scaring off a next generation in sort of a modern time, But...
Yeah, and so certain religions are going to have better ways of retaining their believers, and certain religions are going to be worse at keeping them, and we escape easier from them. But there you go. Negative experiences and discrimination was one of the things that I wanted to talk about, because I think, you and I were talking about this before we recorded. You and I have not had many wildly negative experiences. You had a fairly traumatic coming out to your family.
Yeah.
It included coming out as gay, which kind of skews the statistics a little bit. But not great. Yeah. Like not a great way to come out. And you said to me, you said that being gay was you had much more sort of.
Yeah, like just going about my daily routine, like I never think about the fact that I'm atheist, and like
right,
and so like which is funny, right? I guess in some way, but like I just don't think about it, and so like in conversations at work and whatnot, I'm not like some angry atheist who's like I just say things like, oh well, I don't believe in God, right? Oh well,
right.
And it's just that. right? And it's not a big deal. It's simple. It's just stating a fact. And I don't even think about it anymore. Like I'm really trying to come up with maybe some contexts where I wouldn't be so open. And I can think of like one or two, but even then I don't think I would like, I don't know that I would mention it just because it wouldn't be relevant, right, to the context that I'm currently in. But anyway, but as far as like being gay, like that comes up more, right? Like that's something that I sometimes have to think a little bit about, you know, like situations that I might be in or whatever, and or certain settings, and I'm like, oh God, this may not be the best place to be right now. Bye, guys. You know.
Yeah, totally.
But
but I think a lot of people, you know, even the two of us who have been able to get by as non-religious people fairly easily, and very out of the closet atheists.
Yeah.
In part because, you know, we live in Utah where Mormons are definitely not cool with atheists, but they are passive aggressive about it and they keep it to their damn selves.
Right.
But the thing is that a lot of people have experienced negative events. And when I think about it, even though they didn't affect me terribly negatively, I've had several experiences in social media, with family, in school, in employment situations where it's been an issue, and, you know, it's been a negative thing that the other person has made weird. And because I don't care about their weirdness, I don't internalize their weirdness, I haven't made an issue of it, but it's definitely there. And for someone who is a little less, a little more sensitive about, you know, where they are with their atheism, I could see it being a terribly awkward or hurtful thing. And so, you know, when this report tells us that almost 60% of people have experienced some sort of negative event on social media, and 55% approximately have experienced it with family. Holy crap!
Yeah,
46% have experienced some sort of a negative event in the military, which, the military, our military in the U.S. is very hostile to the non-religious.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is so weird, because what the fuck does one thing have to do with the other? But there you go. Education, 30% of people have experienced some sort of negative event during their education. 21% of people, or 22% of people have experienced some sort of negative event during their employment. It's just something that comes up a lot. Reproductive care. People have had bad experiences with the police. 6%. So, yeah, it's a thing. Now, I mentioned that Utah, you know, we don't experience a lot of direct hatred, you and I, while we're here. Now, we live in Salt Lake City, which is a little blue bubble, a little blue dot in the middle of the big Red Sea. But that doesn't stop us from being, as our, you know, it's funny, our local newspaper picked up this report, and what their big takeaway is that Utah is the second most hostile state toward non-believers in the state of in the United States of America.
That just blows my mind.
Yeah,
it just blows my mind.
It's kind of crazy.
Well, I mean, like, mainly because I guess I think I'm just so fucking oblivious to it. Like, I just don't care, right? And so, like, so whatever there is that, you know, maybe I've encountered, it's just, who cares? But it also kind of like, well, if this is like bad, holy cow, what is good?
Yeah.
Must be paradise.
Well, yeah, that would be indeed.
Because I don't think it's that bad.
You know,
but that's me, and that's my experience. So,
but the bias, here's the thing: the bias doesn't have to be in your face to have a deleterious effect. Like what we experience is not people, yelling at us and telling us that we're awful people and that we're going to hell or whatever. What we experience is everybody's nice to our faces, and then they go to the Capitol building and they enact laws that fuck with us, that privilege their stupid religion over us, that don't care about us. They won't even listen to us if we have a concern because we don't matter.
Fair enough. Yeah.
So yeah, it doesn't hurt directly. Like, we don't feel anybody going, every now and then someone gets a little snooty and gives us a look when they find out that we're atheists. Did I ever tell the story about the time when I was in a play, because that's a thing that I used to do before the virus took away the theater, and I was in a play, and this was actually it was kind of community theater, and I'm there in Utah. This was not in Salt Lake County. It was outside of the county. It was in a very, very religious Mormon county, and one of the other people in the play, we were getting ready, we were going to open in a couple days, and she mentioned, well, every night when we have our cast prayer, we can blah, blah, blah. And I just went, oh, no, we're not going to do that. It was, can I just say, the look of shock on that woman's face was amazing. But this was a theater. This was a fairly new place. The theater was not, was not an established company, and I was just not going to have that be one of the traditions that gets started. So
right. I realized
that. No, and I'm in a position where I know they're not going to fire me. I was safe. So I was just like, oh, no. You feel free to pray before you come. That's great. But we're not going to have a cast prayer. She was like, but all the places that I've ever done that I do plays around here, they always have a cast prayer. And I was like, yep, that's true. But not this one, though. It was very funny. I had no authority whatsoever, but I was not having it.
But that also, that again, like the position that you find yourself in, and that I find myself in, right, is one where where we're able to kind of laugh it off, and just be like, oh, that was ridiculous. You're like, oh, you should have seen her face, right? Like, it's like it didn't amount to anything, right? Because our experience,
and we stayed friends after that, and it was fine.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but I'm sure you were friends, but like, she hated you. Not.
Oh, she went home and had at length discussion about this traumatic event.
You want to pray.
You want to know the irony of that moment? You want the weirdness of that moment for me? That was that woman, that particular cast member, a lesbian.
Oh, wow.
She wasn't even Mormon. She was some sort of
that changed my image
Christian.
of her entirely. I had like this total suburban Mormon girl,
Sister Dottie Dixon sort of thing or whatever.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know age.
Oh,
so
young
I kind of
person.
just had this.
Okay.
Because it also seems like, I don't know. Also seems like kind of a naive thing to kind of be like, oh, let's do this, and it's like, no,
this was a lesbian in her 40s or 50s. Isn't that crazy?
Oh,
anyway.
Oh, she didn't like you at all, Dan. I can tell you that right now.
That's possibly true. Anyway, oh man, look, the takeaway from this, and I encourage you guys to all go out and find it. You can find it. I'm sure the American Atheist website will direct you right to it.
They're very proud.
Yeah, as well they should be. They put a lot of time and effort and money into making this thing happen. And it's fascinating. The more you dig into it, they talk about stigmatization. They talk about loneliness. They talk about the issues that really affect our community that nobody is talking about yet.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So
that's great work.
It's wonderful, and I encourage all of you to go and check it out and just see. And it breaks things down by race and, talks about gender identity and sexual orientation and all of these things that are very important factors in people's lives and how it relates to their non-belief. So, I guess the takeaway is just that it's cool that this is being seen and this is out there, and they've done a good job of publicizing it, and a lot of people are picking it up. Obviously, like I said, the Salt Lake Tribune picked it up. So hopefully a little bit more awareness out there in the world. And if you want to go there and feel seen, I think that's a good thing to do.
Yeah.
So there you go. And if you do peruse it and find some interesting findings, this is it's a 60 some odd page study or whatever, write up. Please comb through it, and when you find something interesting, write into us. Tell us your story. Tell us how it affected you. podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or call and leave us a voicemail message. The telephone number is 424-666-8442.
Yeah. Hey, go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/TGIAtheist. Click the like button
and
see what we're doing there.
And while you're there, search for the TGIA Members Only Lounge and request to join. It is a closed group, but we will let you in. Also, follow us on Twitter at TGIA Atheist.
Yes, indeed. Hey, thanks so much, speaking of all of that, to Mackenzie for having done so much on that Facebook page. Thanks to Danny and Amy for being mods on the Members Only Lounge.
And a big thanks goes out to the Red Rock Hot Club and to Gordon Johnston for the use of their music.
And thanks to you, dear friends, for tuning in. We sure do appreciate you.
Bye-bye.